Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. He is going through some turmoil within himself of what is happening because of the world, of how they're actually boxing him into this type of label of what they expect from him, because he is the ruler of Saudi Arabia. He's the nation's chief executive, and he is also the prime minister. He's the de facto ruler, a starseed. He is an old soul where he's wanting to really bring out that vision. And so we'll be discussing today of how that really carries that pain within, and what is that solution. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 15, and that is the King James Version. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. And again, that's book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 15. His vision of what he truly wants to do for his nation, which is truly wanting to expedite the process in this like overnight metamorphosis, where he wants the woman to be more involved. So it's more of taking out that tradition and bringing more into the future in this cosmic alignment with God. And that's where you can feel, as Prince Mohammed bin Salman is able to express his pain, as you are a starseed, as you are an old soul, and you're able to understand your inner environment, and you're able to really have that inner knowing of what God is trying to bring forth of that vision. So in this century, God had brought him into this 21st century to carry that type of vision and see how the world will actually respond. And so in that aspect, you're able to really step back and really see how these types of souls carry that high title to really carry forth the mandate of what God has given those high leaders. And as you can study more into these leaders and understand that type of genetics that they carry, it is really strong as they want to make an impact into society and to really bring forth of what really needs to change. And so that's what he is carrying, is that type of pain within him. And he's wanting to say, in this one interview, he had mentioned, this is my war. This is what he wants and he needs, and he's given that drive from God to really implement that. And so when it comes to the world, how is the world gonna respond, and how are others gonna view this type of mindset, which is actually in a higher mind of cosmic, tapping into that truth of what God wants to implement into this world. And you can see, as you study other leaders, how God is actually implementing these higher ways of hierarchy and standards of how society can be upstepped. And like in the US, not many people, which is pretty much a small percentage of those who disagree of the presidency, of the Trump administration, and those when it comes to other monarchies, how they've worked in alliance with the US. And so Trump is very much in supportive of this angle. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'm sensing based on who he is as a soul and based on the cosmology of the hierarchy of these cosmic families, which is more described in the courses that I provide, and seeing the key elements of the these key players, they are actually all in alignment of God giving them that mandate. And so that is also more described in the courses I provide, and also in the sessions, if you prefer to have a one-on-one session and to really understand with where you're at in your destiny and the alignment and God and that relationship. Going back to Crown Prince, I miss, I'll just say his full name. I'm not really used to his nickname, but abbreviation, but Mohammed bin Salman, MBS. And but going more into this angle of who he is, he's trying to bring that circle in alignment with God of his people to upstep it. And my sense is, as you start to understand where he's at, you are seeing also with the nation of how they respond, and how the world is in more of like, I don't know if that's really a good idea, because in hindsight, they've carried this more boxed in tradition, conservative, I can't say it right now, conservative lifestyle, where it's more of a tradition of passed down generations of lineage of traditions and dogma ways of really boxing and labeling one's title, one's role in life. I was just covering, anyways, my computer was saying, are you still there? And anyways, so when it says here, that which is crooked, that's where, this is where King Solomon from 3,000 years ago was mentioning what is crooked is really what's outside of the person's environment. So crooked is more like not in alignment with God, or crooked is what isn't in divine providence, divine alignment, God's will, God's, basically it's rebellion. When anything isn't straight, it's not having that alignment, that anchor in God. And the crooked part is that rebellion. It's that part that is not in alignment of God's divine plan. And so everybody on this planet, of course, has different types of levels of that spiritual relationship with our God, with the Creator, and that is our true God is Yeshua, and the light, the truth, and the way. He leads the way. You have that relationship with him. So as Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is able to have that type of relationship with his God, he is able to truly understand what he needs to carry, that mandate, that divine plan, that blueprint, and he is carrying that. As you can see, as you study him and all these other leaders, they are carrying that type of destiny that God has given them, the blueprint. So that crooked part is more in the contradictory of what is happening within. And what Prince Mohammed bin Salman is trying to do is trying to have that transformation from the outside in, when really it's within and inside out. The transformation and helping assist others is having that transformation within and out. It's the mirror of who we are in the inside as we connect with others and in alignment with others. God brings us those who are in alignment. So you may never know, maybe his nation, maybe his country is actually ready into that transition. and the world as a whole, because there's only different pockets of the planet who are ready, spiritually ready, to transition to that next level. Like with me, if I was living in that country right now, I would be definitely up for in that hierarchy of that change, of that new way of living, of that new way of thinking, and that new way of life. Because when it comes to wanting to move out into that box and move out of that label, move out of that type of old ways, and then bring yourself new, you need to have a new environment to have that type of transformation. If you're already changed within, if you are already having that spiritual awakening and that alignment in God's will. And many in when it comes to changing patterns, a person would need to change their environment to have a better understanding, to align with that future goal. And so that's where he is trying to help his people. And so cannot be made straight. So in his vision, Mohammed bin Salman is wanting to build that a literal straight line in his country where there's a city, and he's wanting to symbolically tell the world and inform the world that he is making that part of his kingdom to have more in this cosmic alignment, cosmic city of God. And so it's really beautiful how he's wanting to carry that. But again, he's carrying that pain because the pain is having to fight that war against of what the world is expecting and have already boxed him in and saying like, well, just because you're a crown prince, just because you're the chief executive, just because you're a prime minister and so forth, or just because you have all this money and all this control, does not mean you have to force people to transition to that state of mind, body, and soul, of the vision and the life, because he has this 2030 vision of he wants to transform his nation and complete it by 2030. That's my understanding. I haven't really looked into it. It's more of skimming through of information, of content, of because as you're reading also in these search engines of content out there, and then online world, as you tap into and read, you're able to get other types of downloads and revelation from God as you read between the lines and you receive information. You can just skim through information, and you're able to receive that type of awakening, that type of knowledge of information, data that God is giving. And anyways, and then it says here, and that which is wanting. So he is wanting deeply within him. He's wanting to transform his nation, and the world is fighting against him and say, no, you can't do that. This has always been this way. It's like when you're like in your own family, you're wanting to change your ways within the household, and it's like, this is the way it's going to be. But when it comes to the tradition part of it, the custom of what has been and was, it's like, it's hard to transition the whole cosmic organic part of that to come to life, is because of the other ways of families that have done it for generations. They're stuck in that mode of design of what they're used to. And when it comes to just the whole bigger picture of this content is just King Solomon that had presented this word that he had received from God. He's just warning us, and he's warning, and here we are in the 21st century, we're reading this again, and he's just warning us how you got to have that type of transformation within to help others outside. And so who knows, again, you may not know that his country may be ready to transition and jump on that wagon and to truly understand, and that they're ready because maybe there are more women in his country than people realize in this world who are ready to jump into that type of world to support their country. And similarly, it mirrors of other nations and with where they're at and moving forward and having to, and other monarchies of wanting to upstep and keep that type of standards and align in that cosmic dance with God, because these rulers are actually bringing through that vision, trying to carry through of what they're hearing from God. And so it says here, cannot be numbered. And that's where the world is against Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They're against that type. There's so numbers, there's more, like when they say he's outnumbered from that angle because of the world trying to shut him down, disagree with what he wants to do as this vision is wanting to implement. And it's going to be difficult for him to transform, or to transform his nation if the world is against it, if he can't find the actual people who want to help and create that type of environment for his people. It will be difficult if he has more than not of individuals in his own country that is against that type of vision. But when it comes to our 21st century going forward, there are many more souls who are transitioning into this reality, into that awakening of souls being brought through from God. But anyways, thank you for joining me here as we had gone through that book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 15, and really gone through and understanding where the prince is actually and carrying that pain and what it looks like to actually go forward from that, and sharing that and inform others that yes, we can do this as a family, we can do this as a world, and really help that vision and carry that mandate and allow others to speak their mind and support in this vision that he's hearing, because I'm hearing it, maybe you may be hearing it too, and what he's seeing. And who knows, 1 + 1 is not always 2. There's much more in context when it comes to the overall picture, how God works in people's lives. And so if you enjoyed this lesson, thank you for making it this far, and that you're able to pass it on to your family or friends who need to hear it. And thank you again, and I'll see you next weekend, and God bless. And if you have not been following, and please subscribe, follow, and put some comments down below and jot down any questions, and say where you're at. And thank you again. Beacon of Light, have a good evening, good day, and good week. See you next time. God bless.